Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. My name is Doug Neville. I'm the Deputy Communications Director here at the Department of Public Safety. We're here today to talk about our motor vehicle crash facts that comes out every year from our division of our Office of Traffic Safety. It's an annual summary that talks about why we had crashes, where the crashes were, and how many crashes we had. It's a lot of numbers, but each of these numbers represents a life. And the report guides traffic safety initiatives that will help save lives. So while the 2014 numbers in this report are good news, today we're here to also talk about a deadly pace that we're on in 2015. We have three speakers today. The first will be Donna Berger, who is the director of our Office of Traffic Safety. She'll be followed by Commissioner Mona Dohman from the Department of Public Safety, and Commissioner Dohman will be followed by Colonel Matt Langer, the Chief of the Minnesota State Patrol. Each person will have a statement and some comments, and then after that we'll open it up for questions. So with that, Donna.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. As we look at the crash facts data from 2014, each one of us can be thankful for the improvements in a number of areas. These are improvements that really affect many lives. Last year, we continued an overall trend where more and more people were making the right choice, the smart choice when they get behind the wheel or they ride as a passenger in a car. In 2014, traffic deaths dropped to 361. That's almost a 7% decrease from 2013. Also in 2014, we recorded the lowest number of traffic deaths since World War II. That was in 1944. We had 356 traffic fatalities. Overall, we've seen a dramatic decrease over the last decade. We've come a long way since the late 60s and early 70s, where so many people were losing their lives on Minnesota roads. We had an all-time high in 1968. 1,060 people lost their lives that year. Pedestrians, motorcyclists, bicyclists, teen drivers, these are all areas where we've seen improvement in 2014 over 2013. We can attribute these improvements to many things. We have safer cars, we have improved road design, we have education and enforcement, and of course we have strong laws in the areas of drunk driving and seat belts. But ultimately, it comes down to you, it comes down to me, it comes down to all of us to make the smart choices, to make the right choices when we get behind the wheel. Sadly, that positive momentum that we were seeing in 2014 is rapidly being erased with the loss of life on Minnesota roads so far this year. It's unacceptable. And I'd like to invite Commissioner Mona Dohman to the podium to talk about this year's developments and what we can all do to make our community safer.
Thank you, Donna. Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. I stand here today with mixed emotions. On one hand, we're really encouraged by the improvements that we saw last year with motorists on our roadways, and it's important to recognize the larger trend we're seeing in Minnesota with fewer people involved in serious crashes or dying on our roadways. But at the same time, the spike in fatalities so far in 2015 is very alarming. We just cannot ignore the pace at which people are dying on Minnesota roads. As of today, preliminary numbers show 198 fatalities compared with 164 a year ago today. These fatalities have names and they have faces. A 73-year-old woman from Red Wing, a motorcyclist killed in Pipestone County when he lost control, left the roadway and crashed, a husband and a wife from Marshall, married for 42 years, brothers 18 and 14 on their way to a basketball tournament. All of these people had lives and loved ones until one day it ended in a crash. This cannot continue because they're real lives, not statistics. The numbers represent a son or a daughter or a brother or sister, a husband and wife, a coworker, a neighbor. You might have gone to the movies with that person or a backyard barbecue, watched a soccer game. shared a life and dreams with that person. The Department of Public Safety is encouraging people to speak up about safe driving. I'm speaking up right now to every person in our state to buckle up, pay attention, plan a sober ride home, and to slow down. We just cannot become complacent with traffic safety. Each one of us needs to commit to making the right choice every time we get behind the wheel, we ride a bike, a motorcycle, cross the street. There's a reason why we use the term crash over accident. Accident suggests that something was random and unavoidable. We believe that driving behavior and the decisions people are making on the road determine if they and those around them make it so safe home. I ask that you join me in committing to driving safely in our state. I'd like now to invite Colonel Matt Langer to the podium. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. I think it's important to know that every single day, troopers, deputies, and police officers all across the state of Minnesota are working really hard to combat what we're talking about today with these additional fatalities. And in fact, we're all working toward a common goal, which is toward 0 deaths, because we believe the only acceptable number when it comes to traffic fatalities in our state is 0. And although we're an enforcement agency tasked with a lot of enforcement efforts, our true success isn't necessarily measured in the number of citations we write for speeding or seatbelt or number of drunk drivers we take to jail. True success for us would be if we don't have to knock on anyone's door and tell a loved one that someone isn't coming home. We're certainly thankful for 2014 and the encouraging news that was brought forth. It was explained earlier with the number of fatalities on our roads, but we're very troubled by what we're seeing so far in 2015. In 2014, we knew that 3/4 of fatalities occurred actually on rural roads within our state. Most crashes occurred on good driving days with sunny conditions and dry pavement, and 1/3 of those fatalities involved just one vehicle. The contributing factors in rank order are no surprise. They're distracted driving, failure to yield right-of-way, and speed. This year, the number of motorcyclists killed is troubling as well. In fact, we've already killed twice the number of motorcyclists so far this year that we killed all of last year. And that's something that has sparked a lot of conversation recently. To get at this particular problem and others, many traffic safety professionals are meeting tomorrow as part of our Toward 0 Death program to really look at the data and try to figure out exactly what we can do for the rest of this year and beyond to try to curb the trend we're seeing today. Our plea is simple as always. It's 4 things. It's drive the speed limit, pay attention, never drive after drinking, and obey the speed limit. It's that simple for us. I'm going to start over on that. It's 4 simple things. I did them in a different order than usual. It's 4 simple things. It's always drive the speed limit. It's always pay attention. It's never drive impaired. And it's always wear your seatbelt. It's those 4 simple things. And we see that year in and year out. And we ask for everybody's help to join us in committing to those 4 simple things to curb the trend and reverse what we've seen so far in 2015. If anybody has any questions for the 3 of us, we'll be more than happy to take them.
What was the name of that committee that's going to meet tomorrow?
It's a Toward 0 Death group. So it's a well-established group in Minnesota between the Department of Public Safety, the Department of Transportation, and the Department of Health.
I know you're still looking at the data regarding motorcycle accidents, but do you have any theories as to what is causing that huge increase?
We have a lot of theories, and actually through the Office of Traffic Safety, there's a number of great programs. I'll ask Donnenberg if you want to speak to this. The one thing we've spoken about a lot lately is training. And there's great programs available for training. And to be honest, the people that go to that training have an absolute blast at training. It's fun, and they learn a ton. And we think that the more motorcyclists we can get to those training programs, the safer our roads will be. If you want to expand on that.
Yes, oftentimes people think the training programs are just for beginner riders, but we have advanced rider training and a number of other trainings that people can hone their skills, and we encourage everyone to hone their skills before they get out on the road, practice in a parking lot, and take that training. It's truly important. It'll save your life in the event of that you're in a situation where you have to avoid a distracted driver, or you're hitting some debris or sand in the road, perhaps a deer jumps out in front of you. A lot of these motorcycle crashes are single motorcycle crashes. They're having difficulty negotiating curves. So if they had that additional training, they would have the skills that they would not be laying the bike down and being severely injured or fatally injured.
But does the spike indicate that there are more untrained or beginner motorcycle riders on the roads these days?
Well, what we've seen in the past is that when the economy gets better, people that used to ride when they were younger will go out, buy a new motorcycle. Perhaps they're hitting the years where they're now empty nesters, they're not spending all their money on their children, and they go out and get themselves a toy. And that might be a bigger bike than they're used to riding, and they haven't honed their skills. They haven't been on for a number of years. So without looking at the specific crashes, that's why we just do encourage that people do take the training, whether it's beginner, advanced, or the other training that's available.
The two preceding years from this year had winters that went on forever. Does that reflect the fact that they're getting out earlier now?
The weather has a big part in motorcycles, their season. So yes, this year they did get out earlier than in 2014. So that I would anticipate that had something to do with this year's numbers as well.
Does that have anything to do with the increase in overall crashes too, that people are driving more because it was nicer or the economy's better?
You know, we don't have the number of vehicle miles traveled at this point, so I really can't comment on that. But we do know if the weather's nicer. I know I like to get out with my family. I like to take day road trips or get out and drive more. And it's really about what we're encouraging people is to be courteous on the road. Take time. Everyone wants to get to their destination on time. Your time isn't more important than anyone else's on the road. And if you speed and tailgate and weave in and out of traffic, you're not really saving a lot of time. So be courteous drivers, be safe drivers, follow the speed limits. They're there for a reason. Buckle your seatbelt. In the case you are in a crash, that's your best defense. And of course, never drink and drive.
It says that driver inattention and distraction was the #1 contributing factor in 2014. Is this the first time that was at the very #1 spot, or has that been there before?
We'd have to get back to you on that. I know it's always one of the top leading contributing factors, but we look at both the contributing factors for multi-vehicle crashes and single vehicle crashes. So it would all be in our Crash Facts publication from year to year, and you can look back, and that information is all there in the publication that will be online.
And what do you attribute to that, to the distraction?
Well, I'm going to let law enforcement speak to that.
From our perspective, distracted driving is present in just about every crash. Whether it's represented in the actual data or not, it's a fact that we're talking about, having conversation about every single day. Whether it's yesterday when I followed a vehicle with a guy that was going back and forth while using an electric razor behind the wheel, or texting while driving, there's just a ton of distraction within vehicles. And we've talked about it, and our perspective is it's not new. It's probably getting worse because of all the things that we've brought into vehicles in the last several years and continue to bring into our vehicles. And although we work really hard at enforcement, and there's violations for texting, and new this year, an increase for subsequent texting violations, we really, anything within the vehicle can be distracting, and we don't think that we can enforce our way out of that problem. We really are trying to educate people, and we don't once run into anybody who's not irritated about the number of distracted drivers that are on our roads. So we ask everyone who's irritated about it, which is all of us, to do something about it individually and to stop doing anything other than pay attention while we're driving.
Do you expect to do a similar crackdown the way you just did with the speeding problem?
Every day is a crackdown at distracted driving for us in the State Patrol and for law enforcement in general. But it's challenging because it's so prevalent and it comes in so many different forms. So all we can do is keep giving the simple message. It's probably the message that we would give our kids if they were driving, or our loved ones. It's like, if you're going somewhere, just please pay attention. Pay attention while you're driving. And that's as simple as it gets, and we're working really hard to figure out how to get that message to resonate as strongly as it should, given the impact to all of us on the roads.